Okay, this is page 13 of my autobiography. I was just talking about what a wonderful husband and father God gave me, and so we'll keep going from there. He often, with a tear in the corner of his eye, tells me how grateful he is to God for our children and for me, and that all he wants to do is to be a good husband and a father. I'm so very thankful that he was open to the gift of life according to God's plan, God's perfect will, and the teachings of our faith. Contrarily, our plan was to have 4 children. We thought that was a manageable number, but being open to God's plan, he gifted us with 6, and I couldn't imagine my life without our 5th and 6th children, John and Joshua. Life was difficult and busy, yet so good and peaceful. I continued to attend daily mass with all 6 children in tow and continued to Catholic homeschool with the help of my mother and the support of my husband. But it wasn't always so. In fact, when our oldest child was 5 years old and we were expecting our 4th child, she started public kindergarten, yet she cried when it was time to go. It became a nearly daily routine, and that just broke my heart. We had never been separated, and although it was only half a day, it just didn't seem right to me. Why did someone else get to spend so much time with my daughter on a daily basis? Also, I couldn't shake the fact that the next school year would be a whole day, and someone else would be spending more time with my daughter than I, her mother, would be. So I mentioned to my husband that I wanted to Catholic homeschool her. He said, absolutely not. He didn't want our kids to be social outcasts and the freaky homeschool weirdos. When I mentioned the idea to my mother, she said that I was way too busy being a mom and that it'd be too much for me to handle, as I was very ill during my pregnancies, not to mention the colic, which followed after the birth. That year, with our oldest daughter in half-day kindergarten, I offered my prayers and sacrifices to God for discernment, as my tears joined hers, my daughter's, when she had to leave. Just scroll down a little. It wasn't until the next year that God clarified this discernment. After the birth of our 4th child, it was getting close to public school enrollment time. Only this time it was for 1st grade and a full day of school. Once again, I mentioned Catholic homeschool to my husband, and he surprisingly said, yes, definitely. When I mentioned it to my mother, she said, yes, I'll even help. I know God worked in them. Not only did they see our oldest change for the worse, but through my petitions and sacrifices, God made it happen as only God can. That's how God made it possible to Catholic homeschool all 6 little blessings and gifts from him. It was during this time that a priest asked me in front of the elderly that attended daily mass to not bring the children to daily mass. The elderly daily mass attendees said that the children were just too distracting. One might think I'd be offended, but my heart was filled with joy as I responded that I just loved Jesus too much to not visit him every day, and that I couldn't stay away. But I knew that Satan never stops working on us. He can even disguise himself through requests of the people you think are your spiritual family. God would never want my children away from him, nor would he ever want me to come so far just to be pushed out by older parishioners. I knew that the priest didn't really want to ask me, but there was another mother in attendance who allowed her toddler to scream, literally during the holy sacrifice of the Mass, pretty much the whole service. He screamed to the point where no one could even hear the priest, and she would just sit there with him. I knew our priest very well. In fact, he was a brother to me and very close to our entire family. He still is. Scroll down a little bit. He also knew me well enough to predict what my answer would be. Otherwise, I don't think he would have even posed the question to me, especially in front of all of the elderly daily mass goers. It was a matter of fact. It was a matter of not wanting to single her out. So instead, he brought it to me with everyone present. The only time my kids screamed at church. Okay, here's a little moment of confession. I'm trying to scroll. Okay. The only time my kids screamed at church was while I was dragging them outside by the hand for a spanking. They would cry and scream, "No, Mom, I'll be good," or something of that nature, all the way to the exit door. That only happened when and if they wouldn't listen after several failed attempts. Just another one of Satan's plans that didn't even work. However, I did talk to the mother of the screaming child who did not spank her children. She thought that the parishioners weren't being patient, and that was the problem. I informed her that no one could hear the priest, and they were frustrated to the point of, why go? So she agreed to take her toddler outside during his screaming tantrum so the other parishioners could hear Father serve the Holy Sacrifice at the Mass. So it was settled, and I was okay because I knew if Satan was trying to stop me from going to daily Mass with my 6 children in tow, that I must be doing something that pleases our Heavenly Father. And that to me was pure bliss. Okay, that is the end of page 13. God bless. Bye.